Well, that's a little terrible. What's going on with my hair? This is always this side. Okay. G'day, Sebastian here. Used to be a video editor. Now I make furniture. Today I'm going to be working on I'm going to be working on a piece of furniture. It is not a piece of furniture you sit on. It's probably actually more decor. It's an armrest that has the it's like a, what's the pattern called? Concertina? Let me check what that's called. Maybe it's not. Tabor. Maybe it's Tabor door. Let's see how you pronounce.
Tambour.
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 How we doing? We're good? We're good? Yeah, we're good. Okay. Feels like I should have done something else. Well, we're off to a great start. I don't even know the name of the thing that I'm supposed to make. So let me explain it a little more. So that's what we're trying to do today. We're trying to build a tambour armrest. So it'll go over an armrest as a variety of different slats, and it's to protect the armrest. So you can put like a cup of coffee on an armrest, because you probably noticed that armrests now are quite wide, and they're not curved as much. They're flat, but you kind of can't put your old cup of tea on there because it's fabric. So I've seen them, and a friend got one from IKEA, and I thought, hey, that's really great. So I decided that I'll do a mock-up for someone. They wanted one, and I drove out to go and get some. Looks like it does. Okay, so today I'm on the way to pick up the wood. And I say that because I've actually already done it. The wood's sitting there. It's American oak. I think I've got one's American oak and one's something else. They're both oaks. We've got twin oaks. We've got Daryl Oak and what's the guy? Daryl Hall and John Oakes. Daryl Oakes and John Oakes. I don't quite know where I'm going with that. I had the right of way, so it would have been the other person's fault. We got into a tunnel. I keep thinking that the water's gonna like rush in. It never does. So I drove out to go and get some wood. I got American oak. It has a, well, you can see it here. This is the American white oak, I'm pretty sure. Actually, this here, this lighter color is the American oak. And I think this is just oak. But compare this stuff to pine. So this is pine here. Sounds like, just even feels, it's quite light. Whereas this, way more solid. It's a bigger piece of wood, but it is more solid. So we're going to use oak, and so I'll just rip it down here. I'm using a blade on my table saw. It'll give a relatively good finish, but I'll still have to sand it, and because it's a hardwood, it's harder to sand. But I can only use the table saw because I don't have a resaw. I don't have a no, can't think of what they're called. Some type of saw. This is 70. I think it's 70. 90. So it's 90. This is 70. No, other one's 60. Yeah, that's okay. So this is 90. The blade has a kerf of about 2 millimeters, roundabout. So if I cut the slats at about, I don't know, I cut them at 1 centimetre. If I had a laser with no kerf, I could make 9 out of this piece of wood, because it's obviously 90 centimetres. So I might get eight rips. I'm going to cut it at a length of just over 300, and I'll cut it there, 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 and there, maybe 4 or 5 times. And then I can run shorter pieces through the table saw. It's so much easier to control than a really long piece. Preparing wood can always be difficult. You tend to want to make sure that when you're preparing wood, you get the piece of wood as short as you possibly can, but don't cut yourself too short, because you need a bit of buffer. And sometimes when you're cutting wood down, you know, you get one chance to cut it, and if you cut it wrong, it's that old adage, measure twice, cut once. And I'm pretty sure a lot of woodworkers double check their measurements, but we all make mistakes. It's a part of the game. That's very wise, Sebastian. Yeah, perfect. Well, not so perfect. It's actually hanging on some I'm like I'm bouncing. Alright, let's just take a closer look at that. There you go. So that blade is burnt. That blade is blunt. Why is that blade so flat? Very, very flat. Very, it's really struggling. So you can see there, very, very burnt. Can't be anything else, because this wood is just absolutely straight. Do you think it could be something else? Aliens, or maybe, and I think this is, I haven't tested this, but it could be dirt on the blade that's actually causing all of these problems. Anyway, you could post in the comments to let me know what you think it could be. All entries are welcome. We now have 4 blanks. 1, 2, 3, 4. Now the next part is to rip our strips. It's going to be a little bit tricky, because when the first one goes through, that's cool. We've got lots of meat here to push this part through, but as we get less and less, it gets harder and harder. I did think about trying to do it on the drop saw, but I think that could just get a bit too stupid. It's actually it's long enough, it can actually cut it, but we'll do it on the table saw first. Before we do it on the table saw, we want to be sure that we get the distance right. So we're going to load this piece of wood up, measure out 1 centimetre, and then we'll do a kerf cut there, and then we'll measure, then we'll push it against the fence, and then we'll do another cut, we'll do another cut, and do another cut, and we'll see how many we can get in there until we get to our 90 millimeters. And that's essentially what we're going to test first. I think I managed to get 7 pieces in the test run, and so I immediately jumped on to using the proper wood straight away. The blade did quite well here, and I was pushing it through with my push sticks. They kind of kept slipping, which got a bit annoying because the surface of the wood was so smooth. But no matter how even I pushed it through, I still got a few burn marks. I kept on swapping over my push sticks. They were 3D printed ages ago, so they actually get a bit of abuse. That's what they're for, right? Better the little pieces of plastic than your fingers. So now I'm just checking out what they look like, just to make sure that I don't have anything too far out. I don't know why, but some weeks the audio matches the fast forward, and then other weeks it doesn't, like this week. I used to work at a fast food restaurant, and we had a saying, clean as you go or cage. To this very day, I still do it. And for some reason I'm rushing. I guess I'm rushing because I'm scared that it's going to rain. I used the little rubber mat underneath it to stop the wood from sliding, but then the actual rubber mat would slide because the table saw surface is quite smooth. It was a breeze to actually sand this. Okay, I've got not quite half done, but the sanding's slow. But I've got about half done. That's the most important thing. I'm going to take some lunch. I'm going to have some chicken, and I'll be back very soon. I did have some chicken. It was very nice. And when I came back out, it was raining, so unfortunately, I had to do it inside. Well, the amount of dust in this room is unbelievable, and I've just been sanding for hours. But they are all feeling quite nice, all a little bit uneven. So I need to make something to squeeze them together, and then I can just sand them all down in one go, because I kind of can't have the final product feel like this. But the edges are also really sharp, so I'm going to have to curve those over. The whole workshop gets covered in dust whenever I have to sand or saw inside. And it's actually the reason why I have so many different types of respirators. You've got to stay safe. Stay safe always. The wood looks good. That piece might have to not be there. And that piece might not have to be there. So yeah, I mean, I'm just going to go through and find the ones that I like and the ones that I don't like. Some of them have little defects that I can't quite sand out, or there's not much point trying to sand out. Yes, so how do I lock this in place? Tell you what, how about we try this? And that. Okay, well I can't get the edge ones, but that will work. I just need one more clamp. Cool, well now I can sand them and I will continue sanding. You will watch me sand. You will love the sanding, like I do. Back on the sanding now. I think I had a couple of grits. I stayed with, some of it was 80 grit, and then I moved that up to 120, and then went up to 240. Sometimes I put 180 in there, but it depends on how hard the wood is. The softer the wood, the more gradual you should move through the grits. Today we're going to carry on with the tambour armrest cover. I've actually only got today to finish it, so we're going to get straight into it. Oh, I just jumped today. Okay, so here's what happened. We're going to get straight into it, but I've got to do something first. I still can't see it. Yeah, and the sander's got a 240 on there. Okay, so I got a bit of a problem here. This is one piece in here that a little bit came off. You might not be able to see that, but there's a little chip in there. Gonna have to take that out, and I don't quite know where that came from. So, okay, we'll take this off, and I'll take this off. One thing that we've got to do now is chamfer. Let's knock all the edges off. Now I've got this very crusty plane. So I started planing away or chamfering the edges. The problem is the plane that I'm using is old. I actually bought it when I was building a shed, not this one, but another one. And I needed to, you know, plane something really quickly, and it was really cheap, never thinking that I'd ever use it again. And I actually still have it somewhere. It's somewhere up here. But I don't actually use it that often, and because I don't, it's got a really rusty sole, and the blade is probably not the sharpest it could be. It did really well here, which is a bit surprising because the blade's just dull. It's going to take a while. I have so many dull things in my shed, and I'm probably one of them. Okay, so that went relatively smoothly actually. I'm quite happy with the result of that. I'm now going to sand them. I'm just going to sand it with a piece of sandpaper, not with the electric sandpaper. Electric sandpaper, is that such a thing? I mean, I wish it was. And then I'll just manually... And of course I continued on with some sanding. I think I used 240 only when I was doing small finish sanding. Okay, we're going to try something here. Not so much that it's taking too long, but I'm going to try the sander on a low speed. Mainly because it's pretty hard to get it even But of course I'm a sucker for punishment and continued sanding with the random orbital sander. I initially didn't want to do this because I could actually gouge out the wood, but I found the wood was quite tough, and because it's quite tough, you don't have the problem of gouging it out if you move it too quickly or put it on the wrong angle. So I did okay, and it sure sped up the process. Well, I'm quite impressed by what I've done here. They are very, very similar. They're very smooth. Wow. Well, this is quite smooth. There's probably a couple of blemishes there. Okay, so we're down to the last little bit here. We've essentially done all of the sanding on the top and the sides. It's all quite nice and smooth. It's actually quite nice. I mean, I say that like I'm surprised, but I shouldn't really be surprised. What we're going to do is we are going to glue this together. I've got a couple of choices here. Put tape on the back of all of this and then glue, stain the outside, or I could glue it first. Now, gluing it first means that it all stays together. It just means that if I want to paint it, I have to open it up every single time to paint the inner edge. It's a wipe-on poly, so it actually probably won't matter. No, I think we'll glue first. We'll glue first because the glue does actually take a bit of time to dry. We don't want to glue it to anything. The glue is going to seep down underneath. We should try baking paper. What do you think? Baking paper? I've actually got to cook some chicken right now anyway for lunch. So I'll go and put some chicken on and I'll bring back some baking paper. Baking paper. Well, I did end up having chicken for lunch and I did use some baking paper, but I think I actually stopped for the day. I can't remember why. But that's the end of this episode for this week. We didn't quite get to the end of the Armrest Tambour. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm getting better at pronouncing things that I don't know. But we will be back next week with the rest. I think we've got to do some final finish sanding. We've got to do some edges. But the big part is the gluing. Right behind me is the wood that we're about to spray. That whole thing, from when I started the timer till now, which I'd still done, is 11 minutes. And it makes me wonder, have I done something wrong? If you've enjoyed this week's episode, please like the video, and while you're at it, subscribe. It's just like a newspaper, only you get news that's from me, only about me. Anyway, I hope you have a wonderful week wherever you are, and try to enjoy the weather, and I'll see you again next week.